everyone, this is 8-Bit Flashback, and I just got my Super Nintendo Classic Edition build done. In my previous video, I talked about this case quite a bit. It's made by Megabit NES, and I'll make sure to post a link down below if you want to get one of these cases. These cases are really cool. He even makes little mini NES cartridges that you can put in the slot, and the eject button actually works. But as is, the cartridges aren't functional, they're just for looks. But for my build, that's what I did. I actually made these cartridges work, just like the original Super Nintendo. So what I've done is I put a flash drive inside this cartridge, and I've loaded it with Star Fox 2, and we're going to play that here in just a bit. For the console, I've done quite a few modifications also. As you can see here, I've got a USB input that's inside the slot here, and that's what the game plugs into. And the eject button is still functional. And that was really important to me. I wanted to make sure that eject button retained its function. I also installed a power button located right here. This is a really small momentary push button that works for powering the console on and off. There was a very limited amount of room inside the case, so I had to use a really small button for it to work. So for inserting the cartridges, it took me quite a few tries to get it just right. I had to do a lot of trimming and fabricating to get it to where the cartridge went in there nice and easy. So let's take a look at it with the cartridge inserted, and this is how Nintendo should make it in my opinion. With their first release, they could have a cartridge that had like 30 games on it, and then next year they could release another cartridge with 60 games. That'd be awesome. I don't know why they're not doing that. But luckily for me, Retropie exists and I can just build one myself. So I'm going to go over just a little bit how I built this. This isn't a full tutorial, this is just kind of a summary of how I built this and got the console up and running. So to start off with, I added a USB extension, and what I did is I soldered right to the bottom of the Pi 3 board, right where the USB sockets are. So these wires tie in with the top corner USB port. So here's a look at it after I installed the Pi 3 board, and that USB extension fits right here on the right side of the case. But I had to shorten it, and I had to remove all the sheeting off the end of the USB cable where it installs in the slot. It was such a tight fit that if I didn't remove that sheeting and resolder it, it wouldn't have fit at all. For the power button, I used this momentary switch that I actually found inside an old PlayStation 2 controller. This switch is nice and small, and perfect for this job. And the metal tabs that are on the switch are just the right size to attach my wires. So these are the same wire connections that I used to connect to the header pins on the Raspberry Pi 3 board. To mount the button, I had to drill a hole through the case right here. Then I used hot glue to glue the button in place underneath. For the cartridge, I used a soldering gun to carve a hole in it so I could mount the guts of a flash drive inside of it. Then I secured the flash drive with small amounts of hot glue. Then I printed out a sticker of the back of a Super Nintendo game, and I put it on the back of this one. Okay, enough of the boring stuff. Let's go ahead and power this on and check it out. Alright, let's go ahead and test the power button first, and when I push the button, it starts the shutdown script and powers it off. Then when I push the button again, it powers right back up. So here's a look at my main menu, and what I'm using to control this is a Wii U Pro controller. And these work really well, and it connects via Bluetooth, so it's all wireless. I even installed a custom splash screen. You might recognize this from an old Super Nintendo commercial.
Now you're playing with power, superpower.
And I got the splash screen timed to right when it ends, the main menu pops up. So I got multiple emulators set up on here. I got Nintendo, Famicom, and some Game Boy emulators.